Hey, what's up guys? My name is Sal, and this is another expedition log. Today we continue the ExLog Phase 4 Epoch Baltimore saga. To visit a mall in the county, which is dear to my heart, that if not for its existence, the ExLog series might not have been produced. As always, I hope all of you are well out there, and I'd like to thank you all for helping me to reach 40,000 subscribers. While that's a huge milestone, the majority of my views come from non-subscribers, so if you like this content, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell. Fall is just around the corner, and the holidays are approaching, so I thought it was appropriate to visit a thriving mall that I've done much holiday shopping in. So, for your consideration, I'd like you all to come take a walk with me through the Towson Town Center in Towson, Maryland, with footage that I shot in 2018, then in 2020, for an updated look of the mall amidst COVID. And possibly something special from 2002 after the credits. But first, a word from our sponsor, Wendy's founder Dave Thomas, presenting a couple of guys rapping about how to cook burgers the right way. Enjoy.
Hi, never frozen. I believe the only way to make a Wendy's old-fashioned hamburger is to press the meat patty. Pressing the meat patty is really important, and people will like that. You should always serve a perfect Wendy's old-fashioned hamburger, the one that you would serve. You have one of the most important jobs at Wendy's, and while you're doing that, I am going to have a hot and juicy hamburger with mustard, pickle, and onion.
What the? Who? You're about to learn some grill skills. So let's get busy now. Come on, let's go.
Where do I start? What do I do? Well, press them now, right? When you see red juices on the top of the meat, it's time to give them a turn, then press a repeat. Do it again just like you did it before. Do the four-corner press just one time more. Once you press it the second time, don't press it again because the meat's just fine. We want it wet, you see?
It keeps the meat moist so it's hot and juicy.
And when those red juices no longer rise, you use your tool to double check.
It should be great and moist. Hey!
You're ready to go. Just drain the meat. Then when all the draining's done, you can place the patty squarely on the heel of the bun.
Hey!
Always serve top quality, nothing less than the best, that's a guarantee. Remember this rap and you'll be hot. Give the grill your very best shot, and soon you develop some real grill skill. You'll be tough on the grill, yes you will. Mr. Bill.
Bill, the tape is over. Do you have any questions?
No,
Good. Then let's go up to the front line, and I'll get you started.
In June of 1950, a Hutzler's department store was being constructed in Towson, Maryland, which was billed as the Towson Plaza shopping center at the time. The store opened in the summer of 1952 with 3 floors of shopping on the site that the Towson Circle would be today. But back in the early 1950s, Hutzler's remained the only piece of the proposed plaza, for which the development seemed to have stalled out. Then in November of 1956, developer Ralph DeCairo and partner Lawrence Rachuba cut a deal to lease 19 acres of land from Goucher College and to begin working on a new shopping center to accompany the Hutzlers. Towson Plaza was billed as the first split-level shopping center in this part of the country and was designed by Lathrop Douglas of New York City. It would comprise 200,000 square feet with 40 stores and a 21,000 square foot office building, laundry and dry cleaning, banking, beauty shops, along with a Longley's Restaurant of New York and the Hutzler's Lunchroom. The Towson Plaza had its grand opening on May 13, 1959, and would accommodate shoppers with a 3,000-space parking lot. Malls across the country and throughout the world all have different faces. There are consortiums of gray ghosts across the rural landscape which have eked by through life, threatened by massive super-regional malls such as the Towson Town Center, which you're looking at right now. The Towson Town Center was brought into this world as a humble strip mall, but would quickly emerge from its chrysalis to the form that we know it as today. Through the 1950s and 60s, the Towson Plaza brought some incredible traffic to the area with traffic generators like a food fair store, an SS Kresge 5 and Dime, and the looming fortress that was Hutzler's right up the hill. The original plaza had nothing decadent like polished brass or imported marble from an ancient European quarry. It was a simple building. There were hardy terrazzo planters with sturdy wrought iron railings and fixtures. The stores weren't adorned with flashy futuristic decorations. Blonde wood was the highlight, with functional geometric aesthetic typical in most run-of-the-mill retail offerings built during the Cold War development boom in the 50s. There were walkways with overhangs to protect shoppers from the elements, and an escalator to connect the two floors for ease of access. The Towson Plaza was like that super reliable tool that you've got in your garage that can get every job done, while still being supported by the elaborate 3-story Hutzlers. It was a low-key success with steady traffic, and it thrived through the 1960s. Given the massive explosion of mall development heralded by Jim Rouse, Victor Gruen, and Eddie DeBartolo through the 1950s and 60s, and with aggressive development progressing through Baltimore, Towson, and its surrounding cities, the humble Towson Plaza needed to adapt if it were to compete. As I've discussed in a few other ExLog episodes, there was a huge development expansion in the mid-20th century as a direct result of the Cold War. From Truman to Eisenhower, there were new tax laws that took tax breaks that would normally increase over the life of a property in direct relation to the depreciation due to wear and tear. And they bunched those tax breaks at the start of the property now to incentivize developers to build new rather than to renovate old. New malls were popping up all over the country in the shadow of Jim Rouse, Eddie DeBartolo, and Victor Gruen. However, these were titans of the industry, even as early as the 1950s, with Mr. Rouse being appointed to the National Housing Task Force by Ike in 1953. While they led the charge, many smaller developers would simply dip their toes in the water, unable to compete. Ralph DeCairo and Lawrence Rachuba are prime examples of the retail underdog story. The DeCairo partnership took advantage of the incentives to build new and brought the Towson Plaza to life. But the plaza was quickly dwarfed moving into the 1970s by bigger, more illustrious malls in the surrounding areas. There was the 1956 Mondawmin Mall, which was enclosed and renovated in 1963, which I covered in ExLog 71. Harrendale Mall of 1958, Columbia Mall of 1971, which is an upcoming ExLog, and Security Square Mall of 1972, which I covered in ExLogs 1, 22, and 23. My point is, malls were beginning to sprout up across Maryland, and DeCairo thought it was probably a good time to make some changes at the Towson Plaza. So, in 1975, Goucher College sold the land to DeCairo Partnership, and they started making plans on an ambitious redevelopment. By summer of 1982, the, quote, topping off, close quote, of Towson Plaza was underway, when the steel frame was created to fully enclose and expand the plaza. This redevelopment was the first phase in what would amount to a $50 million project, and would ultimately transform the modest 200,000 square foot strip mall into a 1.5 million square foot Goliath. The first phase was meant to bring 100,000 square feet of new retail space, along with 36 new shops, restaurants, and services at a cost of $6.5 million. By Wednesday, September 15, 1982, Hecht's opened its 3-story, 160,000 square foot store at the Towson Plaza. The store was freestanding at the time, and not connected to the first 2 floors of the original plaza. However, this marked the completion of the first phase of redevelopment for the Towson Plaza, and a fantastic step towards bringing the budding shopping center up to fighting weight against its local competitors. The renovations were a smashing success, and given the immediate attention and surge in traffic, DeCairo Enterprises decided to sell. The purchasing firm was the Hahn Company based out of San Diego, who dropped $5,750,000 on the plaza, closing the deal on July 28, 1987. This is my absolute least favorite concourse in the entire mall, because the cologne smell that would come out of Abercrombie was horrid. Absolutely disgusting. Ugh. Hahn operated under the Trizec umbrella, who are based out of Toronto, and the company was making their way east through the US under Hahn, with dozens of malls already under their belt going all the way back to 1967. Trizec had also bought a 20% interest in the Rouse Company in 1981, with the hopes of a merger, but keep that fact in the back of your mind for later. Trizec Hahn's first foray on the East Coast was the 1988 Bridgewater Commons in New Jersey, with 2 grandiose 3-story statements at both the Macy's and the Lord & Taylor courtyards. They were known for over-the-top statements, and most notably with their 1985 Horton Plaza concept back west in San Diego. But they had their eyes set on making a statement in Towson, Maryland, and to continue the work that DeCairo Enterprises began. An incredibly ambitious $150 million renovation was announced, which would bring a palatial 4-story Nordstrom, and would finally connect the original 2 floors of the plaza all the way up to the Hecht's further up the hill, creating an expansive concourse that would connect the Nordstrom at one end to the Hecht's at the other end. There would be a center court with an elevator to get from the 4th floor down to the 3rd floor, which would have a brand new food court to connect to the 1st and 2nd original plaza sections. This is the elevator that would be added in that expansion. Sparing no time or expense, work was fully underway in 1990. It was also at this time that the Hutzler Brothers department store shuttered, which was the long-standing bastion of retail for the Towson Plaza. But change was in the air, and the Towson Plaza was set to finally emerge from its chrysalis to dominate retail in the greater Baltimore metropolitan area. Developing out the Towson Plaza to what it is today was no simple task. The entire mall rests on a hill, with the 1st floor at the original plaza going all the way up in a great slope to the 4th floor, rather than it being directly vertical. When the plans were first announced, and when the paperwork was submitted for easements, the documents detailing the work were astoundingly complex, and hundreds of pages in length. Every point of the renovation was accounted for, with the biggest hurdle being the parking situation and how to still accommodate thousands of vehicles while destroying the pads that were originally used to park 3,000 cars and to put new buildings in their place. And we're back at the Towson Town Center now in 2020. Continuing with the history, however, on Tuesday, October 15th, 1991, the doors were opened, the ribbon was cut, and shoppers were unleashed into the newly expanded Towson Town Center. And as you can see, they've clearly figured out the parking situation, adding gargantuan parking structures for everyone and their mother to park their cars. The mall had doubled in size, becoming the largest collection of specialty stores in the Baltimore metro area, directly siphoning traffic away from Hunt Valley and Owings Mills markets, and firmly parking those cars on brand new garages at the Towson Town, which housed 4,400 vehicles. I can't reiterate enough how massive these parking structures are. While the Nordstrom was still under construction, shoppers flocked to the new mall in droves to shop and dine while protected, quote, under a vaulted dome surrounded by etched glass, palm trees, and whimsical statues of mythical creatures and deities, close quote. That quote's from Ellen James Martin from the Baltimore Sun. The Towson Town Center was truly and is a masterpiece in luxury shopping today, while still offering a wide array of options for everyone. After the expansion in 1991, there was the brand new Arbor Terrace food court, along with national chains such as Hess Shoes, Banana Republic, The Athlete's Foot, and Victoria's Secret. But there were also stores like the Museum Shop, where customers could purchase museum reproductions of fine art ranging from canvas prints to gold jewelry. The mall had everything. And that granularity by which customers could dial in their purchases was exactly the thing a mall needed to compete with the impending retail apocalypse of the next few decades, for which Towson Town Center was well equipped for battle. In an October 27, 1991 article written by Edward Guntz for the Baltimore Sun, he goes on to lament over the downfall of malls, calling upscale regional malls, quote, the dinosaurs of the retailing industry, in an age when wallet-friendly Walmart is the nation's #1 retailer, and even yuppies are discovering the joys of discount shopping at the Price Club. Any developer would be taking a risk to open another mammoth mall full of mostly high-end specialty retailers, close quote. He then goes on to take note of the end of the 20th century looming over retailers, and that the, quote, $150 million expansion of Towson Town Center may well be the last large retail center or expansion to open in the Baltimore area this century. The last of the Mohicans, close quote. Over the course of the next year, buyers working for Nordstrom would scour the greater Baltimore region, conducting research to find out exactly what people wear to work and school, and how they dress on the weekends so Nordstrom could have an edge up on their competitors. Their work was so thorough that by the time the store was set to open, they had 125,000 pairs of shoes on hand to sell. Further, they had 7,000 ties in stock, 12,000 pairs of socks, 3,000 men's suits, 5,000 pairs of jeans, 4,000 blouses, and 2,600 pieces of outerwear. You see, one of the main reasons a place like Nordstrom is historically successful is because of the diligent research they put into their customer base. After all, you can't have a customer without the word custom, and in many places you have to tailor the needs of those customers by offering different things. Most minimum to welterweight retailers that just go for quantity over quality, such as Kmart, they put in little effort to their actual customer satisfaction, which is one of the main reasons they fail. It's all just a superficial cash grab for executives to line their pockets while the line-level workers get screwed along with the shareholders at places like Kmart and even Sears or JCPenney. Whereas a company like Nordstrom comes to class after studying and doing their homework, and they have the degree to back up their success. The Nordstrom at Towson Town Center opened on September 11, 1992 to great fanfare, with Baltimoreans nearly knocking down the gates to get into the region's first Nordstrom location. Just days later, on September 14, 1992, a deal was announced where the Rouse Company would acquire half of the Trizec catalog, or all of their malls east of Las Vegas. The deal stalled out for a few years, but on April 6, 1998, the Rouse Company closed the deal and acquired 7 malls from Trizec Han for $1.1 billion, including the Towson Town Center. As almost a knee-jerk reaction, and typical when I get to this point in the narration of my ExLogs, malls would traverse the new millennium and would begin dying off. But not this place. Towson Town crossed that Y2K line wearing its big boy business boots, and was poised for success even sturdier than when it opened 40 years prior, especially in the hands of the Rouse Company. At this time, a Rainforest Cafe was opened on the second floor, and the mall was at a solid 75% occupancy. It was also during the early 2000s that I moved to Baltimore from New Jersey, and in 2001 I began coming to this mall pretty frequently. I was in high school at the time, and on the weekends, my best friend Fritz and I would occasionally hit up the Wave Dancer shop to get parts for our longboards, like new wheels or bearings, or just a couple of stickers. Wave Dancer moved into the mall back in 1983, right after it was enclosed. But when we would visit, the location was on the corner, just before the Hecht's Concourse. Wave Dancer was the reason we went to Towson Town, and we took every opportunity to go. We would usually visit right before the store closed, and then we would lurk around the town so we could come back with our longboards to skate at the parking garage. I can't tell you how many times we got kicked out of this place, and if you stay after the credits, you might just see what I'm talking about. Anyway, if you followed my series for some time, you'll be familiar with the next events to unfold. In November of 2004, Chicago-based General Growth Properties purchased the 37-mall portfolio from the Rouse Company, including the Towson Town Center, for a deal totaling $12.7 billion. Having paid close attention to that Hecht's wing for some time, it came to my surprise in September of 2006, September 9th to be exact, that Hecht's was converted into a Macy's. This was one of the last remaining Hecht's, and the company left Baltimore's retail landscape with a whimper after doing business for 149 years. As a matter of fact, right around this time, occupancy at the Towson Town Center wasn't doing so hot, and they were hovering at about 50% in 2008. Between 2007 and 2008, the United States saw its worst economic disaster since the Great Depression, back from 1929 to 1939. During the 2008 recession, nearly $8 trillion of value were lost in the stock market. Unemployment was hurtling towards 10%, and Americans were on the verge of losing almost $10 trillion in wealth as home values plummeted and retirement accounts were vaporized. So what did GGP do in an effort to offset costs and bring more traffic to the mall? They decided in 2007 to build an ultra-luxury wing, of course, of all things. And they doubled down on promoting their image of being a super-regional luxury outlet with a $75 million expansion towards Delaney Valley Road. We're in that luxury wing right now, as I'm sure you can tell from the lines in front of Louis Vuitton and Tiffany & Co.
Hi, this is Tiffany, and I'm so excited you can reach me now on my private phone line. Just call 1-900-909-TIP. I have so many things I'd like to tell you. You're my friend, so call me. That's 1-900-909-TIP. And if you're one of my lucky callers, you'll get to talk to me live, one-on-one. Remember my number, 1-900-909-TIP. Under 18, get permission before calling. $2 first minute, 45 cents each additional minute. Call me.
The 100,000 square foot luxury wing opened on the second floor in 2008 at the behest of losing the Rainforest Cafe, with a cast of retailers catered to the wealthy. You had Crate and Barrel, Pottery Barn, Michael Kors, Ed Hardy, Lacoste, Lush, True Religion for the semi-wealthy, and for those looking to drop a few stacks in one outing, you had Tiffany & Co., Louis Vuitton, Burberry, and BCBG Max Azria. While the Rainforest Cafe was lost, the Towson Town Center gained a P.F. Chang's, Cheesecake Factory, Stony River Legendary Steaks, and a TGI Fridays. Given the horrible state of the economy, some could say that this was a prophetic move on part of the owners, as this luxury wing actually brought tons of cash and traffic to the mall and kept its image intact through one of the greatest recessions of the United States history. Hell, I was just but a wee lad at this time and looking for some spare cash on the side while I was back home for the summer from college. My dad pulled some strings and got me a job working as a longshoreman on the Baltimore docks during the summer, and my sole inspiration for doing this was to make enough cash to buy the first run iPhone. Before that, I was using a Samsung Blackjack 2 and then a Motorola Ming, which was this super awesome, slick camshell flip phone with an earpiece side, which had a translucent plastic that you could see the wires and mechanisms. But the iPhone was the new thing, and times were tough, so I worked my ass off at the docks of Baltimore a few summers, made pretty good money for the time, along with working part-time at this very Banana Republic for a few years. My manager's name was Brian, and he had a cane. Brian, if you're watching this video, you were a good boss. Anyway, I went to the Towson Town Center to buy the first iPhone. Being a longshoreman is actually super grueling work, with extreme hours. So while I look back fondly on it, in hindsight, I think I'll stick to my desk job in cybersecurity these days, and playing concerts. The cavernous and labyrinthine parking garages on the Towson Town Center campus received some upgrades in November of 2016 in a roughly $1 million renovation. To make it easier for the horde of shoppers to find parking, they installed a Park Assist tool, which shows either a green or a red light above the parking spot, telling potential customers whether or not they had a parking spot, with respect to the color of the light, and I'm sure you can guess which color meant which, green or red. They also installed an array of solar panels on the top level of the parking garages, therefore having a sheltered parking spot on every level with some green energy to boot. The mall would continue to thrive and was an attractive offering for any potential buyers. GGP was in some hot water with JP Morgan and was downgraded as a result of some bad dealings. By 2018, I showed up to film the mall formally for the ExLog series, and by November 2018, Brookfield Property Partners acquired GGP in a massive $27.5 billion deal, with $9 billion of cash up front. Brookfield went on to manage the mall and still does to this day. As 2020 rolled up and the world seemingly started falling apart, COVID-19 appeared to make things even worse. Malls closed nationwide for months, and Towson Town Center was not exempt. It's currently September of 2020 in the footage that you're seeing right now, and there are visible scars in Towson Town Center from the effects of COVID-19. Most notably, on the 4th floor, there are a number of closed storefronts. Now, in no way, shape, or form is Towson Town a dead mall. It's far from it. But the novel coronavirus has wreaked havoc through the world, leaving people with long-term side effects, and these long-term effects will be seen in malls and retail just the same. While shoppers are beginning to return to the mall, it's with trepidation and precautions in place. Malls are requiring mask usage while indoors. Stores are queuing customers at the door with limited occupancy. Some stores are conducting temperature checks before entry, and eateries are at limited capacity. But people are going to the mall, and an inkling of normalcy is beginning to show itself. And even while super regional malls with luxury wings like Towson Town weren't immune to the ravaging effects of COVID-19, I'm pretty confident that previously healthy malls will return to normal in due time, and that Towson Town Center will go on living its posh, extra luxurious, bougie life without any life-threatening effects. I'd like to thank all of you for watching my video. Towson Town holds a special place in my heart, in that my ExLog series might not be here today if not for the many years I spent shredding the garage on my longboard with Fritz illegally, and more importantly, filming it, and less importantly, getting kicked out by security. I guess that taught me how to deal with security at an early age. Those early films in my teenage years built up a love for editing and showing my work to friends, and because of this, I still have that same drive to create videos today. I'd like to thank my patrons and elite explorers for contributing directly to the ExLog series, and also a huge shout out to all of you out there for helping me to achieve 40,000 subscribers. That's massive. Absolutely massive, and it makes my brain numb to think that many people are into my content. I'm beyond stoked, and I love every single one of you. While that number is amazing, my channel analytics show me that the majority of people watching my content aren't subscribed yet. So if you've gotten this far in my video, I'd kindly ask that you consider subscribing and ringing the bell. You may as well, because you're over a half an hour into this thing and still watching, so my guess is you're into the ExLog and you want to be notified of future videos. So kindly subscribe and ring that bell. You guys can also check me out on Instagram and Twitter at Salvatore Amadeo, on salvatoreamadeo.com for the X blog and impending merch at the X Mall, and on Facebook if that's your sort of thing at Quite Studios. Make sure to also join me on the Dead Malls of Discord server, where you just download Discord for free and you click the link, also for free. Discord is free, and we have an awesome time on there, so come party with us. Stay tuned for ExLog 73, guys. And in the meantime, stay safe, take care, and have a fantastic day. Hey, are you guys still with me? If you are, here's some extra footage back from 2001 and 2006 when Fritz and I were doing stupid stuff on our longboards at the Towson Town Center garage. Enjoy. Thanks again for 40,000 subs, guys. I love all of you.